I read some really, really great books and some really, really not so great books in 2024. But today we're going to go over my top 24 in 2024. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Claire and this is Claire's Neverland of Books. Like I said, today we're going over my favorite books of the year. I have got stacks and stacks of books around me, so we're going to dive right into it. In 2024, I read a lot of romantasy. There's no way around it. It's just, I read a ton of romantasy, and most of those books became some of my all-time favorite books now. So I'm so excited to talk to you guys about them today. So let's get into it. Starting in the 24th spot, we have Games with an Orc by Catherine Moon. I picked this up at a Polycon when meeting her this year. Finally picked this one up and I had such a good time with it. It is about Sunny, who has spent a lot of her time hiding what she wants in relationships. And it's obviously like in a monster urban setting. Like there's tons of monsters around. So Sunny goes to the Monster Smash agency where she can be paired with a monster that meets like what she's looking for. So she ends up paired up with this orc, Kilar, and has like a fun weekend or like week with him. And then they end up catching feelings for each other and it turns into more. I mean, it's super short. It was only 250 pages, but she did this as a serial on her Patreon and then published it. And so I was happy to pick up a physical copy and I really, really enjoyed this one. In spot 23, we have Fragile Sanctuary by Catherine Cowles. I finally picked up a Catherine Cowles book this year and I kind of binged through a bunch of her books afterwards and I really, really enjoyed this one. This is a small town romantic suspense. It seems like Catherine Cowles always has like a little bit of suspense in her stories, but this follows Rhodes, who is having her house worked on. Like she inherited a really like beat down house, I think from her family. I can't fully remember, but her brother's best friend Anson is the contractor working on the house. There's some chemistry between them. It's Grumpy Sunshine. He also protects her when things start happening with this house, and with her, when she gets threatened, he ends up staying with her or having her stay with him. And it was just a really fun time. I really need to continue on with this series. It's getting picked up by Bloom this year, so they're all getting republished with sprayed edges and like foiling on the cover. So I'm really excited to continue on this series. I had a great time with this one and I cannot wait to read more of Catherine Cowles. In the 22nd spot, I have Heavenbreaker by Sarah Wolf. This was a Red Tower release that got the pretty sprayed edges edition and I had such a fun time with this. This is in a like sci-fi-esque fantasy world where you have these like robots that you go into and fight like knights, kind of. It is a really interesting world. It follows the main character who is hell set on revenge for killing her father because she didn't have a good upbringing due to him. So it starts off right away with her killing him and then slowly starting to kill members of her family that she's estranged from. She's like fostered basically, and it's her getting into one of these vessels to then fight. I had a really fun time with this. It just swept me away, brought me into this world, and it was just so much fun. And I definitely can't wait for book 2 to see where this goes. Next, in spot 21, I have Rabid by Ivy Asher and Raven Kennedy. This was a on the whim pickup, I think, at some point last year in 2023, I think. But it follows a girl, Seneca, who all she's been waiting is to get her wolf. And they only unlock their wolf at a certain age. But her pack is like, the pack leader is a tyrant. He came in 3 years ago, killed everybody that was of importance, but kept her because he was going to claim her once she took her wolf. And she has to escape and ends up landing in the hands of another alpha tyrant. There are lots of like dubious elements in this. I find that as a pretty common theme in shifter romances, but I really had a fun time with this one. It was a great entry point into Ivy Asher and Raven Kennedy, which then made me pick up more of Ivy Asher. So I really had a fun time with this one. Next, in spot 20, we have a very happy surprise that I read this year, and that is Dark Fever by Karen Marie Moning. I was so kindly gifted these special editions for my birthday from my mom because I really, really wanted them, and they were so pretty, but I had not read the series, so I really needed to read it and make sure that I liked it. Did I wait until after I got the books? Yes. But I absolutely adored this, and I cannot wait to continue. But this follows Mac, whose sister is killed recently while she was studying abroad in Ireland, and no one is solving her murder. So she does what any good sister would do and jumps on a plane to Ireland to go figure out who killed her sister. She ends up running into Jericho, who is our male love interest, and they figure out that they have some common interests that need some investigating, and they go from there in trying to figure out what happened to her sister. It's a fae paranormal romance, and I had such a fun time with this one. I definitely will be continuing soon. In the 19th spot, we have The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee. This follows Naira, who is on the run from her father. She is the princess. She has been locked away, not allowed to be out and about. People think that she's sick or that she's dead. There's all kinds of rumors going on around her. So she escapes during a raid from the rebels and uses that to get out of the castle and away, and then ends up in the hands of Dacre, our love interest. And he doesn't know that she's the princess, but requires her to join the rebellion with him. He is the son of the rebellion leader. There is tons of cat and mouse with this. It's fun watching her learn more about the rebellion and seeing the differences between what she's fed through the kingdom and what they see, and how the rebellion's opinions also differ. This was a really good, strong start to the series. Book 2 wasn't as good, but I still loved it, and I'm very excited for book 3 that is set to come out in March, I believe. So this one is highly recommended, and I love it to death. We're getting into some books that I'm only holding up one book, but I mean the whole series. So in our 18th spot, we have the Zodiac Wolf series by Elizabeth Briggs. I have this stunning special edition from Arcane Society that I've had on my shelves for quite a while, and I've been meaning to pick it up, and so I finally did. This is volume 1, and I have volume 2 behind me. They are 2 books in one, so it's like 4 books total. I binged through these in like 3 days, I think. It was so much fun. It follows a girl who was raised in a specific zodiac wolf pack. They don't get their wolf until they come of age, and she ends up at a match ceremony where they match them to people and gets matched to, he's gonna be the alpha of the pack eventually, and he rejects her and says no. And some chaos ensues when a supposedly dead pack shows up, breaks up this whole thing, and steals her to be a part of their pack, because I think she's the mate to that alpha. This was so much fun. I was so surprised by it. I absolutely adored it, but I highly recommend books 1 through 4. They're so good. Go read them. In 17th spot, we have the Kingdom of Lies series by Stacia Stark. This is A Court This Cruel and Lovely, book 1. This follows Prescott, who has been hiding magic all her life, and she shouldn't have been. She should have been killed for having any magic, because their magic is taken away as a baby, and then when they become of age, they have a ritual that's performed and their magic is given back to them. But if it shows that you've had your magic this whole time, they kill you. So she's had her magic this whole time, and she's coming of age where that's going to happen soon. So she has to escape before they find out that she's had powers this whole time. She goes on the run and ends up meeting Lorien. He is our male love interest, and he is quite frankly a dick when he first meets her. He can tell that she's got something hiding because she's on the run, and he tries to like leave her at first, but then they cross paths again and they kind of team up to go to a safe city where she can get away without being in danger, and a lot more happens from there. It's a great series. I really enjoyed it. Had so much fun. I binged through books 1 through 3 and then yelled at Stacia at a Polycon for the ending of book 3 because we had to wait for book 4, and then just adored it. So, highly recommend this one. And then in 2024, I discovered Tessa Hale. So in our 16th spot, I have Dragons of Ember Hollow. This is a dragon shifter romance where our main character just wants to live her life. So she goes to this like remote school, not realizing that it's full of a lot of supernatural characters, and ends up running into what we find out is a dragon shifter. Ends up falling in love with 5 of them. It is a why choose. It is dragon paranormal romance. It is a fun, good time. I highly recommend it if you're looking for something short and sweet and fun. Obviously, because it's a trilogy, book 1 and 2 have really bad cliffhangers, like most books do, but I highly recommend this one. Absolutely adore it. Another series I absolutely demolished in 2024, coming in at 15th, is Bound to the Fae by Eva Chase. I binged through this series in the span of, I think, a week. All 9 books, absolutely adored it, had such a fun time. This was so much fun. So this follows Talia, has been in captivity basically, and she doesn't know why. All she knows is once a month these people come in and take her blood. Very quickly she is rescued by 3 wolves who also keep her in captivity, but don't lock her in a tiny little cage and let her roam, be free to do what she wants in their house, while trying to figure out why her blood is a secret to a curse that they have. Something happened so many years ago where they all ended up cursed, and now they only turn on a full moon, and when they do, they're absolutely feral. They cannot be controlled, they kill, they mangle each other, a bad time for all of them, and they just want to break this curse. Well, they found that her blood somehow allows them to fight the curse and turning, and I just absolutely adore this one. Coming in at 14, another Why Choose? We have Order of Scorpions by Ivy Asher. This follows a girl who wakes up in a cage and has no memory of how she got there. She is then trained to be an assassin, and when the other leaders from around their country come, they end up using her to infiltrate these men, the Order of the Scorpions, that always wear masks. They don't know who they are. Her owner wants to figure out what are they doing? They never come to this. Why are they here? I had so much fun with this one. I was really surprised by it. I did struggle though because it is a standalone. I felt like it either could have been shorter to be a standalone or it could have been a duology and expanded more on things. But I did have such a fun time with this and I do highly recommend it. In 13th place, we have When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I read this at the beginning of the year and absolutely adored it. It did take me a while to get over the writing. The writing is overwritten, to say the least, but when getting the whole story and understanding it all, I just had such a fun time, and the dragons in this world are so cool. The dragons, when they die, they go up into the sky and turn into moons, and I just thought that that was the coolest thing to ever exist. So I really recommend this one. I enjoyed this one and I felt like it was done well. Highly recommend this one if you haven't picked it up already. Then in our 12th spot, we have A Ship of Bone and Teeth by Karina Halley. I just recently read this one and absolutely adored it. It is Little Mermaid, very heavily Little Mermaid retelling, but with a twist. So instead of she falls for Prince Eric, but he is not a great guy. She ends up captured by a pirate king who takes her captive, and she's a siren. So she's been landlocked basically for 10 years, not been able to go in the water and be a siren anymore. And it's her meeting the pirate captain, Ramsey, and them using each other for revenge, to get the revenge that they want, and maybe falling in love. I had a really, really fun time with this one. I love Karina Halley. Some of her books have been hit or miss, but this was a hit for me, and I highly recommend it. I cannot wait to read the second book. In spot 11, we have Bride by Allie Hazelwood. I picked up Bride as soon as it came out, like I normally do with Allie Hazelwood books, and I absolutely adored this with my whole heart. This follows Misery, who is she is a vampire, and she is being used as a political token, basically. She is going to go live with the werewolves for a year and get married to the alpha as a token of we trust you, so here's a token of our trust in exchange for a token of his trust, and more political things going on in the background. And it's just her and Lo trying to make do with this and maybe falling in love at the same time. Allie Hazelwood could do no wrong in my opinion. Absolutely adore her. Highly recommend this one. In spot number 10, we have Slaying the Shadow Prince by Helen Schuer. This follows Drew, who is a noblewoman turned ranger, and she's living on an island that's kind of like cut off from everybody. Everyone kind of wrote this part of the island off because it's infested with shadow wraiths. And the shadow wraiths tore apart most of her kingdom. She is trying to get revenge on them. In walks Talamir Starling, a noble warrior in their realm. He has a secret. He might be a half wraith. There's been some stuff getting reported to them, so they send some of their warriors to the island to investigate. So Talamir and Wilder come to the island to figure out what's going on and help with the situation and then go back to their realm. But this one was so good, and I will scream about Talamir for the rest of my life. I really need to finish the Legends of Thesmar series because that follows Wilder. So I thought that this was such a great like introduction into their world and meeting Wilder. I know that people say don't read this until after book 2, but I think you really should read it first because it takes place in the timeline first. So I highly recommend reading this one first and just highly recommend reading it in general. It can be read as a total standalone as well. Coming in at number 9, we have another series. We have the Kindred's Curse Saga by Penn Cole. This series is all over the world right now. This is I wouldn't even call it a slow burn because there's not much romance in book 1. This follows Diem, who is just trying to like escape her town. She is trying to figure out what happened to her mom. Her mom disappeared suddenly and it's just not like her mom. And her dad is very like, it's fine. Don't look for her. And it's just a little weird. So Diem uses this opportunity to go into the dark world and like join the rebellion and try to figure out what happened to her mom. And we meet Luther, who is our love interest, and just love him from page 1. Absolutely adore him. Like I said, there's not much romance in book 1, but the angst is there. And then you get into book 2 and 3, and this book right here, Burn of the Everflame, is one of my most anticipated books to be released. But if you have not picked up the Kindred's Curse Saga, go do so. In 8th, we have Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I adore Elsie Silver with my whole heart. The Chestnut Spring series is one of my favorite series. Absolutely adore it. And Wild Love, oh, it gave me all the feels. I cried. Absolutely loved it. This follows Ford Grant, who is the world's hottest billionaire. And he has opened a recording studio in his hometown, Rose Hill, and is faced with a young girl coming and knocking on his door and saying, hey, you remember that time that you donated sperm to a sperm bank? Well, hi, I'm your daughter, and I need you to take care of me because my mom is sick and there's no one else to watch me. He then needs a nanny because he can't work and take care of this young girl. And so he hires Rosie, our heroine, and she helps take care of this girl while he is a big hot billionaire. And they end up falling in love, and I just absolutely adore this with every ounce of my being. Then in spot number 7, we have Empire of Flame and Thorns by Marian Blackwood. This book just came out recently. Just finished reading it like 2 days ago, and it snuck its way right onto this list. Obviously pretty high up too. This follows Selena, who is Fae and lives in a world where a millennia ago the dragon shifters overruled the Fae in a war and basically conscripted the Fae. The dragon shifters used to be conscripted by the Fae, so they took their revenge. And then every 150 years they have this trial of atonement so that they can go through and try to win their freedom to go on to bigger and better things. So Selena, who's a part of the rebellion, feels like she's not doing enough for the rebellion and decides to enter the trials in hopes that she can win and help get better help for the rebellion to take over the dragon. Then we meet our lovely, lovely dragon commander, Draven. Oh, Draven. He is a shadow daddy, and he is going to stop at nothing to make sure that Selena does not make it through these trials. This series, oh my god, I was laughing out loud. I was highlighting quotes in my Kindle. I was having the best time. Ordered a special edition from the author, and that is on its way to me, and I cannot wait to have it in my hands. I highly recommend this one. And book 2 is set to come out at the end of February. Fingers crossed we don't get hit with another indie pushback. Hopefully we'll see it in February. And now we're getting down to the top 6, and let me tell you, ranking these books was so difficult. It was so difficult, and I'm still looking at it like, is this the correct order? We're gonna stick with it, okay guys? So in 6th place, we have Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Everybody and their mom knows what Quicksilver is, and we all need Kingfisher in our life. This follows Saris, who is really good at keeping secrets, and no one knows the powers that she possesses. She ends up trying to steal a gauntlet from a guard, and some chases happen. She ends up in the castle with a crazy ass queen. Oh my god, let me know when you guys get to chapter 5 and you meet that queen. She is insane. And ends up fighting for her life and falling through some Quicksilver that lands on the ground, and ends up with our hero, Kingfisher. This book, oh my gosh, when I say swept me off my feet. Did it ever. I love this book so much. I immediately brought it to work and had one of my best friends read it, and then I made my other friend read it, and we all are on the Kingfisher hype train, and you should too if you haven't picked it up. Alright, are we ready for this top 5? Because I'm not. In 5th place, we have The Beasts of the Brier series by Elizabeth Helen. This follows our main character, Rose, whose father is kind of the town crazy, and he's searching for his wife that disappeared so many years ago, thinks that she was stolen by fairies. So he is searching for this fairy world to find his wife, and she's just trying to survive her day-to-day life, not getting teased and hurt by the public. But her dad then disappears, and she finds his sweatshirt next to a rose bush in the middle of the forest, and ends up falling through a portal into the Fey world. She ends up finding her dad in a cell within a castle and offers to take his place when she learns these 4 men are cursed to be wolves at night. And she takes her father's place. It's very Beauty and the Beast coded in that first part, but it very quickly moves on from that. But it is a why choose, and oh my god, the series. It is 4 books are out currently, and I binged through them so quickly, and I have some of the best memories binge reading this. I buddy read with Cassidy books 3 and 4, and those messages that we have on Discord with each other of us screaming, crying, throwing up over this series are just some of the best memories I have of 2024. Cannot wait for book 5. I need the sisters to get on it and keep writing. Faster and faster, please. I need it to be released in 2025. But if you have not picked up the series, this is your sign. Go pick it up. In spot number 4, this series has me in the biggest chokehold, and I so almost put it in spot number 1, but I really had to rein myself back on it because rating wise, this was like a 4.5 series for me. But that is The Legacy of the Nine Realms by Amelia Hutchins. I picked this book up because I have the stunning edition from Arcane Society, and I binge read all 5 books in the span of like 2 weeks. This series, I think about it daily. I think about Nox and Arya all the time, and I just want to reread it. Like, I think I'm going to reread it very soon because it just has me in such a chokehold. It follows a coven of witches who goes back to their home to find one of their missing sisters. When they get there, the town is overran by a new person, Nox, our alpha asshole hero. Oh my gosh, the series is not over with. It's going to be 7 books. There is so much whiplash in this book. You're going back and forth. Do you love him? Do you hate him? She has this author note at the beginning of this story. I kid you not. And it says, chances are you may not fall in love instantly with him. That's because I don't write men you instantly love. You grow to love them. I don't believe in insta-love. I write raw, flawed caveman assholes that eventually let you see their redeeming qualities. They are aggressive assholes 1 step above a caveman when you meet them. You may not even like him by the time you finish this book, but I promise you will love him by the end of this series. And when I tell you that that's not a lie, go read this, please, and give me all your thoughts. Then in third place, we have the Legacy series by Melissa K. Rourke. This follows Tessa, who is a fae, and fae are basically thrown into servitude towards the legacies. And every so many years, the legacies get to pick a fae to sustain them. And Tessa was never in the running to be one of those. They normally kind of like groom the fae that will be the legacy's source from a young age, but like she was never groomed like that until she meets Theon outside the ceremony and changes his mind. And he walks into that ceremony and he picks Tessa, and in lies a world of emotions. This story had my heart in my chest the entire time. Like, still thinking about it, my heart is in my chest for Tessa. She goes through so much in this series, and it is so different from Melissa's other series. It's a really interesting take because they're set in the same universe, so it's the same creatures and magic, but you see little differences. Like, this is a fully like urban world. There are cars and cell phones, but it is still like an epic world, which I thought was really well done. And I highly recommend this one. I think about this series on a daily. I think about all of these characters and this whole entire universe daily. And I just love this series so much, and I highly recommend it. Okay, we're up to the top two, and it was so difficult. It was so difficult to pick. But I had to go with my gut. And at number 2, we have the Order and Chaos series by Alexis L. Menard, picking up House of Bane and Blood. This is Six of Crows meets Peaky Blinders. I cannot rave about this series enough. This follows Camille, who is like the heiress to a train family, and she is inheriting that, but she has to be married off to pay off some debts that her dad left the family with. The night before she's set to be given to this guy, she goes out for one last hurrah and walks into a bar and meets this guy and has a wonderful night with him, like just living and having fun, dancing, talking, no funny business, but they like end up kissing, and then she realizes that she can't do that when she has to give herself to another man the next day. So she runs home, and then the next morning, this man shows up and counter offers her proposal and says, "Marry me instead, and I will make it so much better than he will." So she takes Nico up on his offer and marries Nico. Oh my lord. Nico, oh, he is daddy. He can get it. Love him to death. He has a metal hand, and in book 2 has some enhancements added to it, if you know what I'm talking about. This story was like no other romantasy story that I've ever read, and the world was so different than anything else, and the magic in it, and the setting was so different and so refreshing to read. So I read books 1 and 2 back to back, absolutely adored it, and recommend it so much. So we're at the number 1 spot. Can you guys guess what it is? Let me know down in the comments what you think my number 1 pick is. I think it's kind of obvious. If you know me, you know the emotional roller coaster I went through in March with this series, and that is the Lady of Darkness series by Melissa K. Rourke. I picked this up in March for Realmathon, and I binged through it, and I just was like, what do I do with my life after finishing this? This follows Scarlet, who is a assassin. She's one of 3 that are like, God, I forget what they're called, but they have a name. And she has been assigned to like a house in the middle of nowhere, being to herself with these other kids, and she kind of just is not working for the assassin lord anymore. And he gives her an offer that she can't refuse, and that is to get revenge against the Fae prince that killed her mother. So she is now trying to find this guy. She's been given a name, and she's trying to find him. But we also meet a guard named Rylan. And Rylan, oh, I can't say much more than that. I don't want to spoil something that happens in this book. It's pretty well known if you know what this series is about or have seen fan art and whatnot about it, but I'll leave that for you guys to discover if you have not read this series. I love this series with my whole heart. I think Melissa K. Rourke does such a good job at capturing mental illness and depression and anxiety and how to handle it in proactive ways and not bad ways that are self-deprecating. I definitely recommend this. I like to tell people that there are similarities to a lot of Sarah J. Maas's books in this, but I think that I see that in every romantasy that I read nowadays. So I know a lot of people haven't liked this because of that, but I think it brought more to this story, giving us those relationships with the friends and these friend groups and how they support each other, because that is what everyone needs in their life, is a strong friend group to support them. And I think that Melissa K. Rourke captured it beautifully, and I absolutely love this series so much, and I highly recommend it if you have not picked it up. Alright guys, I have been talking for far too long. I'm hoping that I can edit this down pretty well, but we shall see. So, let me know down in the comments below what have been some of your favorite books of the year. Top 1? Maybe top 5? Let me know. Maybe I'll pick some of them up if I haven't read them. And if you want to just leave me an emoji to say you were here, leave me a trophy emoji, since we were ranking these from 24 to 1. And if you could give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, guys. Bye!